When you read as many articles as I do about multiple sclerosis, you kind of get used to hearing that this is going to be the best thing ever. But I will say that almost all the time, it tends to be some new pharmaceutical product, some new disease-modifying therapy, or what have you. So I was very encouraged to see that they're now saying that the thing that's supposed to be the best thing ever to help with MS fatigue is something we can get from our diet. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of You and Me and Multiple Sclerosis. My name is Pam. I've been living with multiple sclerosis for 40 years, and I've shared with you many articles over the past few years about things we have to get with the prescription, but also things we can do ourselves, changes in our diet, changes in our lifestyle that can improve some of our MS symptoms. The one I want to talk about today, I saw it in Multiple Sclerosis News today. We'll take a look at that article together. Here's the article in Multiple Sclerosis News today. It was published on May 15th of 2025. It's called Ellagic Acid Supplements Found to Ease Fatigue in MS in Small Trial. Use of antioxidant over 3 months also eased patients' anxiety and depression. Wow, that sounds really good. So let's keep reading. 3 months of daily supplements containing ellagic acid, an antioxidant found naturally in many fruits and plants, significantly reduced disability levels and eased fatigue, depression, and anxiety in people with multiple sclerosis, according to a small clinical study from Iran. There's an awful lot of good research coming out of Iran lately, I think partly because they've realized the number of MS cases being diagnosed in Iran has really skyrocketed in recent years, and they're really trying to get to the bottom of it. The article goes on to say, indeed, the researchers noted a statistically significant reduction in assessment scores across all measures of these common symptoms of MS. Ellagic acid appears to significantly alleviate fatigue, depression, and anxiety in MS patients, the team wrote. Although larger studies are needed to confirm these findings, an earlier analysis of this same triple-blind study showed that ellagic acid may reduce the levels of molecules that signal inflammation in MS while increasing the levels of anti-inflammatory molecules. This would be expected to ease symptoms and slow progression of the disease. The study, Ellagic acid favorable effects on fatigue, depression, and anxiety in patients with multiple sclerosis and moderate disability, a randomized clinical trial, was published in Multiple Sclerosis Journal, Experimental, Translational, and Clinical. And I think you can see there from the title that the study participants were selected partly because their disability is moderate. I think that may have to do with just kind of getting a homogeneous population so that you can measure the effects more precisely, but also people with severe disability, let's face it, I don't really think that there is likely to benefit from these kinds of interventions as folks whose disease course has not progressed as far. But be that as it may, I think that perhaps the results could be extrapolated a little more broadly and still benefit people at all levels of MS disability. And they say investigating ellagic acid supplements for use in MS. In MS, the immune system mistakenly attacks myelin, a protective covering that surrounds nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord. These inflammatory attacks cause a gradual buildup of damage, leading to worsening disability that typically affects a patient's ability to function in daily life. While mobility-related symptoms such as stiffness and problems with balance and walking are the most common, people with MS also can experience other issues, often fatigue and mental health problems. Such symptoms can be bothersome, I'll say that, and take a toll on a patient's quality of life. And I would agree with that too. I'm sure you would too. In humans, the effects of the demyelination process in MS patients are known to cause the onset of psychological consequences of the disease, including depression, anxiety, and fatigue, the researchers wrote. Many individuals with MS consider holistic management strategies that combine a healthy diet, exercise, and complementary treatments in addition to the use of approved medication. One supplement that's sometimes considered is vitamin D. Here, the team of researchers sought to learn more about the effects of ellagic acid, or EA, supplements. Ellagic acid is found in certain fruits and seeds, like raspberries, strawberries, red grapes, pomegranates, almonds, and walnuts. On the basis of animal models and laboratory studies, EA has been identified as an effective substance for treating chronic diseases such as neurodegenerative diseases, the researchers wrote. So, as is so often the case, common food items contain phytochemicals that do benefit all kinds of issues that we might have with our health. They do deal with things like inflammation, which is so helpful for those of us with MS. Earlier studies in mouse models of MS showed that ellagic acid may help reduce inflammation and ease symptoms of the disease. However, no studies have examined the effects of ellagic acid supplements in people with MS. For this study, the team recruited 58 adults ages 18 to 55 who had been diagnosed with MS for at least 6 months. Their scores on the Expanded Disability Status Scale, a commonly used measure, ranged from 4.5 to 5.5 points, indicating significant disability with minor limitations in daily activity, to disability severe enough to prevent some daily activities from being done independently. And as they say, disability levels were seen to decrease significantly with one dose. The participants were randomly assigned to receive either ellagic acid, 2 capsules taken with meals totaling 180 milligrams daily, or a placebo while maintaining their usual diet and physical activity patterns. The researchers called or texted participants to help them stick to the schedule. At the end of the study, leftover capsules were counted to determine compliance with the treatment protocol. After 3 months, the EDSS scores of patients on ellagic acid had decreased significantly by an average of 1.01 points, indicating a lower disability level. For those on the placebo, there was no significant change in their EDSS scores. This is all sounding almost too good to be true, isn't it? 1 dose and they got this kind of result? That's pretty amazing. Specifically, patients on ellagic acid showed a significant reduction in anxiety, depression, and fatigue after 3 months, while these symptoms remained virtually unchanged in the placebo group. Similar results were observed for physical, psychosocial, and cognitive fatigue scores. You know, the amazement just keeps getting greater and greater, doesn't it? We found a statistically significant reduction in assessment scores compared to the control group, the researchers wrote, adding that the changes achieved are also clinically significant. So in conclusion, they write, the researchers noted that their study is the first to investigate the effects of EA on psychological impairments such as anxiety, fatigue, and depression in MS patients. As a study limitation, however, team noted that only a single dose of the supplement was given. Further, the trial was very small in size. Although additional investigations are needed to determine how to ease psychological symptoms in MS patients, mechanisms such as the anti-inflammatory properties of ellagic acid can be considered, the researchers concluded. So, as often is the case, more research is needed, but certainly the preliminary results are very, very encouraging. Well, all very interesting. I want to play now a short video made by a fellow YouTuber who also has multiple sclerosis. His name is Cliff, and if you don't follow his channel, you might want to because he is a funny guy. And I love some of the things that he posts on. So here we go. Let's take a look at what Cliff has to say on the subject of ellagic acid.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cliff, and this is Life with MS. I have got even more awesome breaking news for you guys. I just cannot believe that there's so much happening in this space. Now, this particular study today comes out of the country of Iran, and this particular study is super interesting because it's very simple in how they did it, and it's also very simple to see how they got the results that they saw. And what it shows is continued proof that basically there are some things we can do on the day-to-day to ease our symptoms with multiple sclerosis. The study that they performed and how they performed it had incredible outcomes. So let's jump into it. What is it? How did it take place? And what happened? Let's go. So shout out to Multiple Sclerosis News today. They always have really great stuff on here. I love reading their stuff. It's simple to read, it's fun to read, and it's very up to date. Ellagic acid supplements found to ease fatigue in MS in small trial. And when you first see that, you think to yourself, Puff, ellagic acid, live by the sea. Wow, I'm losing my mind. Let's get back to it. So first off, let's start with what is ellagic acid? Well, it's basically a molecule, and that's what makes this study so exciting to me personally, is it shows something we can do at a patient level to help ease our symptoms. And if you saw a video I did a while back about my favorite fruit, which is pineapple, and why that helps ease my symptoms, this is kind of along the same lines, though it's using a different molecule. But what is ellagic acid? Well, it's something that's available in strawberries, pomegranates, blackberries, cranberries, raspberries, cloudberries, never even heard of that, pecan, apples, and grapes. And we know our MS condition is one of inflammation. And what they proved in this study, though it be on a small clinical trial, is that ellagic acid is actually really good at taming inflammation. So stick with me while we look at this study in detail. So the study was a triple-blind trial with 58 adults who had MS and moderate disability. For 3 months, these participants took 180 milligrams of ellagic acid twice a day with meals, or a placebo, all while maintaining their usual diet and activity. And at the end of those 3 months, the results were statistically significant. That's nerd speak for wow. The group taking the ellagic acid saw a significant reduction in their actual disability scores. It's called the EDSS, and that stands for Expanded Disability Status Scale. And the group taking the ellagic acid had an EDSS score drop of 1 point. That is crazy. That is a very big number for people dealing with MS. The participants also noted a significant reduction in their depression, anxiety, and fatigue. It's also speculated now that the mechanism behind this anti-inflammatory molecule could actually slow progression of the disease itself. So would that mean we go into our infusion centers and they have a big strawberry up there or something and they just give us a smoothie? That'd be awesome. So while all this looks promising in the study, the asterisk here is basically that it was a small study and it needs to be scaled up to really show its efficacy. And I want to read this last part that basically summarizes, I think, exactly what I want to say. While it's still in the early days, the research offers a hopeful new avenue. Ellagic acid supplements appear to have the potential to significantly alleviate fatigue, depression, and anxiety in people with MS. It underscores an ongoing search for effective complementary treatments alongside approved medications. And on that note, I am not a healthcare provider. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a bald dude on YouTube reading really cool research I'm finding. So I don't advise anybody to go run out and buy as much ellagic acid as they can find because we don't know the long-term stuff. Let's figure out what these people are going to learn from these studies and follow the professional guidance. But this looks very promising. And in conclusion on this episode, I have to say that eating right really makes a huge difference with my multiple sclerosis. The short-term effects of eating the right amount of fruit and the long-term effects really seem to be very beneficial. I really want to get this information out there because I think it gives people hope, but it's not just blind hope. It's based on studies and smart researchers, and we're getting things done. Things are happening, and I'm super excited about this because, I mean, this disease sucks, but at the same time, we've got some smart people behind it.
Well, one thing I really appreciated that Cliff said was let's not run out and just buy ellagic acid and think it's going to do wonders for us because it did wonders for the people in the study. For one thing, it was a small study, and we don't know what the larger effects might be across the entire spectrum of people with multiple sclerosis. The other thing that we just don't know is the long-term effects of taking a sizable dose of ellagic acid. But in the meantime, you saw the kinds of foods that contain ellagic acid. Absolutely no harm in adding those to your diet or increasing the amount that you eat if you so choose. I think most of us already eat at least some of those foods. Maybe we want to be more intentional about eating more of them or including them more often in our diets. Well, we'll keep an eye on this one and see if it shapes up and becomes anything. But in the meantime, until I see you again in my next video, please do continue taking really good care of yourself. I'll see you again soon.